Well, I hope my listeners who are listening to this show, there's much, much more provocative topics that I want to discuss with you. And as much as your time will permit, I want to have you back to do a more complete set of information because I feel like what you're sharing with us is truly foundational. And it's the kind of information my listeners need to download from futurequake.com, make copies of, and give to their Christian friends. They need to pass it on, ask them to just have their friends listen to it in the car or when they're at home and ask them what they think about it, discuss it, send us feedback to our show, let us know so I can provide feedback back to Mr. Grigg. We have other people like Mr. Grigg, although no one quite like him, that come on our show that have had similar discourses with us here. But this whole effort, and again, it's a voluntary effort of Future Quake, is intended to try to enrich the family of God and for us together to grow, to learn, to modify what we see as we're further enlightened as iron sharpens iron. And my hope and prayer is that we've accomplished something today through this discussion. In our last 3 minutes or so, can you let our listeners know how they can find more of your writings and other material? Because if they're like me, they're riveted now by what you say and how you say it, just like I am, and they're going to want to know how to keep up with your exploits from here on out. So please share us in the next 2 or 3 minutes.
Well, I really appreciate that. Thanks so much for the opportunity. This has been a real blessing for me this morning. The easiest way to find my writings is to go to my blog, Pro Libertate. If you just simply type Pro Libertate into a Google search, you'll probably find it. And certainly if you type Pro Libertate with Grigg, G-R-I-G-G, my last name, you should be able to find the blog. The web address for it is freedominourtime.blogspot.com. Freedom in Our Time is one word, then blog, B-L-O-G, blogspot.com. And another way to find it is to go to the web page of the Welch Foundation. It's called The Right Source, and the web address for that is www.rightsourceonline.com. You can order my book, Liberty in Eclipse, from that website. It's also available at Amazon.com. And if you go to rightsourceonline.com and you scroll down about a third of the way down the page, look at the left-hand side of the screen, you'll find my photograph. And there's a hyperlink that will take you to my blog, Pro Libertate. I try to update that between 3 and 5 times a week as my schedule permits. Generally speaking, if you show up every other day, there'll be a new essay. And it's not a blog in the same sense that a lot of web blogs would be a running diary in which a writer would simply offer brief reflections on topics of interest. My weblog is actually more of a 3 to 5 times a week installment, 1,200 to 2,000 word polemic. I describe it as an investigative polemic. I try
Right. That's right. It's not a stream of consciousness, just set of thoughts like you might hear Larry King say why he likes chocolate ice cream.
Yeah,
You
the three-dot column. Exactly. It's not a Larry King three-dot column on your web on the internet. It's meant to be more of a fully realized work of investigative polemics. It's written in the tone of a polemic. It's an editorial piece. I don't disguise my point of view, but I try to find some way of getting below the skin of an issue and fleshing out the subject just a little bit more thoroughly than you'd find in some other weblogs.
All I can say is my jaw dropped when I read some of your research regarding the circumstances at Oklahoma City at the recent FDLS event. I was ashamed that I didn't know this information before, but I'm so grateful to you that you've taken the patience for people like me to methodically put this information together at great expense of your time and to completely change my worldview, believer to believer, based upon the information you shared with me that I and people like me should have known all along. And with your permission, if it's all right, I'd like to put your blog address on futurequake.com.
By all means. And it's immensely gratifying to me to know that you found it to be of value. I really appreciate that.
Well, to me, it's time well spent in that it's made a huge impact in my understanding of the world and of Christ, based upon the effort that you've put into it. And ladies and gentlemen, if you've not caught this entire week's interview, I consider it essential that you go to futurequake.com, download the MP3s each day, Monday through Thursday, of this interview will be there for you to download. And Mr. Grigg, can I ask you to look on your schedule for sometime end of July or in August that I can schedule again to pick up where we left off for a
Certainly.
subsequent rebroadcast. There's much more that needs to be said, and much more that needs to be to broadcast. And current events are going on so quickly that we may need even an update on some things with a more timely commentary.
I think that would be very worthwhile, and I really appreciate the invitation.
And in the meantime, send us emails if there is a quick alert of something that my listeners need to know. We'd appreciate all if you'd even drop a line to old Dr. Future here in between those times to let us know something that we need a heads up on.
I'll do that as well.
Well, God bless you. Thank you so much for educating our listeners with tremendously challenging words, and I know will haunt the consciousness of our listeners as well as me. And until we meet again next time, we will say goodbye for now, and we will look forward to talking to you again, brother, very soon.
Very good. God bless.
Welcome back to the Future Quake Show. I'm Dr. Future.
And I am Tom Bionic.
And this is our time every week where we do tomorrow's trimmers or today's review of the future's news.
Yeah.
And as no exception, we have a few different kind of stories, I might say, to review. And so hopefully they'll give you some food for thought.
Yes.
Maybe even a little amusement worked in. On Fridays, we try to relax a little bit in what we do.
We loosen our ties just a tiny bit.
Just a tiny bit. And I think it's your turn to begin.
I knew you were going to say that, but I tell you, I think you, as far as interesting stories, you have me beat.
Oh, no.
So I would like to hear your story first.
Oh, he's setting me up here because...
no, it's a very interesting story. And
well, we have a stack of stories that we've gotten. Some of them that are so important that we even hang on to them for a few weeks. And this is one that just happened to be at the top of the pile, so to speak, that it's really important, but it's sort of a different kind of subject matter. But it's important that you know. And the motto of this story is to just tell you how sick and depraved your own government is. And let me just tell you why. I entitled this Terrible Weapon for Use at Convention. This is from Fox News, by the way. This is Fox News reporting. Political activists planning protest rallies at the upcoming Democratic Convention in Denver have their stomachs in knots over a rumor about a crowd control weapon known as it's a cannon that relates to defecation. I'll just say this. Now, I'm not trying to be crude here. I'm just saying that this is just something for you to see how crazy your government has gotten, okay? That might be unleashed against them. Now, this is something that's actually being unveiled on our fellow citizens, and it'll be maybe on TV.
So let me get this straight. There's a weapon that makes people defecate.
Here's what it does. Let me just say.
Okay.
It is believed to be an infrasound frequency device that debilitates a person by making them defecate involuntarily.
And so...
Now, we're not making this up. We're not trying to be...
And so just to be clear,
here.
They've got this weapon that makes people defecate that they're deploying at the Democratic Convention in Denver.
Yeah. I mean, this sounds like something made up or like on Comedy Central or something, but this is our government doing this to our fellow citizens who are there expressing themselves outside with their constitutional rights.
Yeah, I was going to say, what an insane commentary on liberty.
What bizarre minds back in the government are dreaming. And I come from defense laboratories where I've worked in the past as a scientist. But, we never got into something this strange and bizarre. It says Mark Cohen, co-founder of Recreate 68, an alliance of local activists working for the protection of First Amendment rights, said he believes that this could be deployed at the convention in August to subdue crowds. We know this weapon and weapons like it have been used at other large protests before. And let me just say that at the Republican convention 4 years ago, Brother Alex Jones, who's a documentary filmmaker, also a Christian, professed Christian, was covering that on site with a documentary, and he showed that the brand new pain beam weapons, the ones that like microwave weapons that boil the water on your skin, that's incredible, it's like you're burning on fire, that was designed for terrorists. It was designed for crowd control in terrorist areas, were disguised, but they were discovered downtown actually being addressed against our own citizens.
So So
this is not out of the... this is not some crazy...
So let's say that explicitly. They were deploying weapons designed for terrorists against our own citizens. Is that?
Yeah, that's the bottom
Okay,
line.
good.
And I'm reading this. This is not from some kind of satire.
No, this is from Fox News.
Fox News is saying this. And when you think about, for example, torture, we're talking about torture of these incredibly evil terrorists that have terrible things planned for us. When you justify doing whatever torture is necessary to, quote, save lives, just remember this story, that we have these bizarre and diabolical weapons that were sold and paid for by our citizens for terrorists that surprisingly are just being wheeled out against our own citizens. What do you think they're going to do with these terrorist devices? Once they torture devices, once they've been sold to us as just being for the worst of terrorists. Picture your sons and daughters being subjected to this. Let me just describe it a little further. I think people get the point, but he describes this weapon as a sonic weapon used to disrupt people's equilibrium, cited eyewitness accounts of its use during free trade agreement protest in Miami in 2003. I think these weapons were mostly intended for military use, and so their use in dealing with innocent protesters seemed highly inappropriate. The idea is that they may be field testing them on people who are doing nothing more than exercising their First Amendment rights is disturbing. His group is preparing against a possible attack by this and other crowd control measures by dispatching street medics at the convention trained in treating injuries in demonstration situations. It's all that we can do, Cohen said.